on cycle 2 of lesson 14. What I'd like you to do is open up your books to page 113 and have your notebook ready. As you read, I want you to make note of how Max is feeling in this section, as well as keep notes of anything related to light or wind if it appears. Let's keep looking for that symbolism. Starting at the top of page 113, find it? Awesome, let's start. Follow along. We're under a streetlight when he says, "Let me look at you." He's got these big eyebrows that make it hard to see his eyes, and that's fine, I don't want to see them. Looking at those eyes is asking to have a bad dream. My, he says, checking me out. Well, you look at this. It's like looking at an old picture of myself. You really are a chip off the old block. You know that? I don't say anything, and he reaches out and touches my face real gentle, as if he'd never hurt a fly. I say, boy, do you know that? Answer me now. Yes, sir, I say. Everybody says so. Christmas Eve, he says. You know how many Christmas Eves I've been deprived of my own blood kin? Pause. This uses both of our vocab words. Deprived means something was kept from it. So he was deprived of his own blood kin. Kin was family, relatives. So his family was kept from him. I've been deprived of my own blood kin. Now, is that fair? Do you do that? Or is that fair to do that to a man? Lock him up for a crime he never did? He's waiting for me to answer, and I say, No, sir, not fair. That's over and done now, he says. We're starting fresh, just you and me, boy. That's how it was meant to be. I'm standing under the streetlight, and it's amazing how quiet it is, like everybody went away or died. The quiet is almost as big as he is. Before we move on to the next page, let's take a look at what Max is feeling. And we can kind of find out how he's feeling by seeing how he describes different things. If a place is empty, do you usually assume that everybody died? He might be feeling a little bit alone here. The quiet is almost as big as he is. This also shows that he sees his dad as very big. How do we see Max? Is Max also a pretty big guy? I want you to think about that for a few seconds. All right, I want you to tell me, is Max a really big guy? Yes, he is. So if Max feels tiny compared to this man, what does that tell us about this man and how small Max feels around him? The quiet is almost as big as he is. He's as tall as me, only wider everywhere. And for some reason, maybe because we're not far from Freak's house, I'm thinking this weird thought. He doesn't need a suit of armor. So he sees his dad as like really kind of scary tough. No, he doesn't need a horse or a lance or a pledge to the king or the love of a fair lady. So he doesn't see his dad as one of the knights. He doesn't need anything except what he is. He's everything all rolled into one, and no one can ever beat him, not even the brave Lancelot. If Lancelot is the hero, who does he think his dad might be? And I'll tell you, it's not King Arthur. He's squinting around, his eyebrows are furrowed shadows, and he says, You know what I think when I see a neighborhood like this? Hamsters is what I think. That's how these people live, like hamsters in cages. They have their little wheels to run on, and that's what they do for the whole of their lives. They run and get nowhere. They just spin. I stand there. They poisoned you against me, I know that, he says. Give it time, you'll see the truth. He starts walking fast, and I walk with him, like my feet already know where to go. We're cutting through the side streets and heading down to the pond, all cold and white and frozen. This gives us another description of maybe what Max might be feeling. He's describing things cold, white, frozen. Maybe Max feels a little bit frozen here. Tomorrow morning, a bunch of kids will take their new sledges and skates out there and probably lose their mittens. We're on page 115 now. mittens and scarves and get yelled at by their moms and dads. But tonight the pond is empty as the moon, as empty as my head. We see more descriptions of maybe how he's feeling. His head is empty. The pond is empty. I want you to think, is he in a good mood right now, or is he feeling a little off, a little lonely? I want you to just consider that as we continue reading. Once a car goes by real slow around the pond, and I've got this feeling there's no one at the wheel. Is that possible? Could a car be driving by itself? No, but that's how he feels. He feels very alone right now. He hooks his finger in my shirt collar and makes me duck down until the car goes by. The car passes and you can't see through the dark windows. And you can hear the snow crunching under the tires, squeaky and frozen. There's that frozen word again. We're invisible, he says, making me stand up. Now, isn't that isn't that a kick in the pants? My feet already know where we're going. The New Testaments. There, there, there are a few lights on in the old buildings, and you can see from some of the window. See, some of the windows are cracked. It looks like a knife cut against the light. And he's saying, "You know about Mary and Joseph? How they sought shelter in Bethlehem? How the baby Jesus was born in a manger?" I try to nod, and the funny thing is, even though I'm not cold, my teeth are chattering. So it's like the rest of me, freezing, but my head hasn't noticed. He's freezing. He's he's cold, but not actually cold. He's frozen right now. But not physically, it's like in his head. That's what we're doing, seeking shelter, he says. Except this isn't exactly a manger we're going to. Bottom of page 115. No, sir, I say. It sure isn't. Follow along at the top of page 116. He touches me real soft on the back of my neck and says, "I didn't ask you a question, boy. Rule number 1, don't sass your old man." I make sure my mouth stays shut. We're coming up on the Testaments, and they look almost pretty with the new snow coating the roofs and making the yards clean and white and soft. You can see where an old bike handlebar is coming up through the snow, and shapes of other things left out. And even the old car up on blocks looks new, like it might take off into the air without any wheels. I know where we're going, even though he doesn't tell me. I'd like you to pause there. We're going to start looking at this question. I asked you to think about how Max is feeling. How does Max feel? Does he feel empty and isolated, or does he feel happy and excited right now? After you make your choice, move on to cycle 3.